Hello friends, I welcome you all to this video lecture on engineering mechanics. In this video lecture, we are going to learn a topic known as friction. It is said that friction is a friend and friction is a foe. My dear friend, we can walk on the ground because of friction. We can write on a paper because of friction. We can stop a vehicle on the application of brake because of friction. So friction is a friend. Also, the same friction when applied in a vehicle, we do normal maintenance of the vehicle and we do oiling and greasing of several components which are always under the motion to overcome the losses due to friction. We know that frictional force always acts in the direction applied opposite to the motion, and because of that there is loss of work. So friction always acts in the direction opposite to the motion. We know that the tire of a vehicle is purposely made rough to generate sufficient amount of friction such that the vehicle remains in contact with the road. So my dear friend, it is very clear that friction is a friend and friction is a foe. Now we are supposed to understand what generates the friction. So my dear friend, a body which may be looking a smooth body, but it is not always 100% smooth. There are some irregularities on the surface. There are some projections on the surface. So when two surfaces are in contact with each other, the projections or the protruded surface interlock each other. So here there is an example of two bodies which are touching each other, and there are some irregularities, and because of these irregularities there is interlocking between them. Now when we apply an external force to move the body, I apply an external force on the body to move it in the direction of the applied force. So as soon as we apply a force F on the body tries to move, but the body cannot move because of the interlocking between them. This interlocking generates a reactive force tangential to the contact surfaces, and this reactive force is known as frictional force. This reactive force is known as frictional force, and the frictional force always acts in the direction opposite to the motion. So it is clear, my dear friend, that because of the minute projections on the surface, there is interlocking between the two surfaces in contact, and till the time when there is no force, there is no reactive force. As soon as we apply an external force to move the body, that is a reactive force because of the interlocking between the surfaces, and this reactive force is known as force of friction. My dear friend, we are supposed to remember that friction force always acts in the direction opposite to the motion. Now my dear friend, here we are going to understand a term known as limiting friction, and we are supposed to understand that with the help of an example. My dear friend, let us consider that there is a bus which is stuck at the road, and a person is trying to move the bus and he is not able to move the bus. Now he asks help for the another person. Even he tries to push the bus, but the bus does not move. There comes more and more person, and because of the application of more number of people, the bus moves. So what have caused the motion of the bus? It is the number of forces together have caused the motion of the bus. But we know that when we apply a force on a body, the body has to move in the direction of the applied force. But here, when we were applying a force on a body, the tire and the road has sufficient friction between them, and that friction was not allowing the motion of the body. So what happened, my dear friend? Let's take the example. Earlier there was only one person. He applied a force, and because of that application of force there was equal and opposite reaction. Now because of that the body didn't move. Now then come more and more people, they apply the force, the force is getting equal and opposite reactive force. And there comes a time when the frictional force is at its maximum value, beyond which the frictional force is not going to increase. A point where the frictional force, a time or a limit where the frictional force is maximum, beyond which the frictional force is not going to increase, is known as limiting frictional. When the frictional force is at its maximum, when we further apply a force, the friction force decreases slightly and then it remains constant. Is that clear, my dear friend? So my dear friend, what we have done is more and more number of people started pushing the bus, and the bus got the maximum amount of applied force, and that applied force have the value greater than the limiting frictional force. For every applied force there is a frictional reactive friction. For every applied force there is a reactive friction, and a bus is going to move only if the applied force is greater than the limiting frictional force. So when the applied force was greater than the limiting frictional force, the bus started moving. The bus started moving because after the applied force is greater than the limiting frictional force, the friction between the road and the tire decreases slightly, and then it remains constant throughout. So my dear friend, under the application of force, for every force that is equal and opposite friction, till that time the frictional force is equal to the limiting frictional force. As soon as our applied force is greater than the limiting frictional force, the friction force decreases slightly, and then it remains constant. So my dear friend, when the friction on the bus is equal to the limiting frictional force, the bus is at the rest. The bus is at the rest. The bus will move. If I further increase the force, beyond this line, the bus is going to move. So we can say that at the limiting frictional force, the bus is on the verge of motion. We can say that at the limiting frictional force, the bus is on the verge of motion, beyond which if we apply the force, the bus is going to move. So it is very clear, my dear friend, that when the frictional force was directly proportional to the applied force, the bus was at rest, and the frictional force reached to a maximum value known as limiting frictional force, beyond which when we applied the force, the bus starts moving. So at this point, at the maximum frictional force or limiting frictional force, the bus is on the verge of motion. The body is on the verge of motion, beyond which we apply the force, the bus starts moving. So till this point the bus is in the rest, and the friction is the static friction. Beyond the limiting frictional force, the bus starts moving, and the friction on the body is kinetic friction. So my dear friend, we have studied that there are three types of friction. One is static friction, in which the body is at rest. When the body is at rest, the friction experienced by the body is known as static friction. When the body is in motion, the friction experienced by a body is known as kinetic friction. When the body has a maximum value of frictional force, that value is known as limiting frictional force, and on the limiting frictional force, the body is in the verge of motion. And the whole analysis of this video lecture is on the verge of motion. We are going to study the bodies on the limiting frictional force. Is that okay? So the limiting frictional force is the maximum value of the frictional force on which the body is on the verge of motion. Beyond which we apply the force, the body is in the motion. So we are studying friction in the statics part of mechanics. So we are going to study the friction till the body is at rest. So the body is at rest till the limiting frictional force. At limiting frictional force, the body is on the verge of motion. So we are going to study the friction till that. Is that clear, my dear friend? So my dear friend, the static friction can be given by a value mu s into n, where mu s stands for coefficient of static friction. The value of kinetic friction can be given by a value mu k into n, and mu k is the coefficient of kinetic friction. Is that okay? So my dear friend, let's understand what is coefficient of static friction and what is coefficient of kinetic friction. So to understand coefficient of static friction and understand coefficient of kinetic friction, we are going to learn coefficient of friction. My dear friend, coefficient of friction is a ratio of limiting frictional force to the normal reaction. We know that limiting frictional force is the maximum value till which the body is at rest. So the ratio of limiting frictional force to the normal reaction is known as coefficient of friction, and it is denoted by mu. So mu is nothing but frictional force divided by normal reaction. Is that okay, my dear friend? Frictional force divided by normal reaction is coefficient of friction. If the body is at rest, if the frictional force is the static friction, the coefficient of friction is coefficient of static friction. If the body is in motion, the coefficient of friction is the kinetic friction. Is it clear, my dear friend? Is it clear, my dear friend? So we have studied coefficient of friction, which is the ratio of frictional force to the normal reaction. Is it clear, my dear friend? Next is angle of friction. My dear friend, as we have studied, when a body is kept on a surface, the body is going to experience a normal reaction. If a force tries to move the body, because of the irregularities, because of the surface roughness, there will be a frictional force. And I have taken the frictional force tangential to the, we know that the and we know that the frictional force is tangential to the surface. So I have taken the frictional force over here, and I represent normal reaction and frictional force as two sides of the triangle. So if I want to find the resultant of these two forces, the resultant will be the closing side of the triangle in the opposite direction. So this blue line represents the resultant of frictional force and normal reaction. The angle made by the resultant of frictional force and normal reaction with the normal reaction is given by phi, and this angle is known as angle of friction. Is that okay, my dear friend? Now considering the trigonometry of this triangle, if I see the tan of phi, the tan of angle of phi is nothing but frictional force upon normal reaction. So my dear friend, we know that frictional force upon normal reaction is also coefficient of friction. So here we have derived a relationship between coefficient of friction and angle of friction. So it can be written that mu is equals to tan of phi, where mu is coefficient of friction and and phi is angle of friction. Angle of friction is the angle made by resultant of frictional force and normal reaction with the normal reaction. Is it clear, my dear friend? Now next we are going to learn angle of repose. My dear friend, we may have experienced when a body is kept on a surface, and if the surface is inclined, the inclination of the surface is causing the body to move downward. So if we increase the inclination slowly, we can see that there are certain inclination till which the body does not slide. There are certain inclination till which the body does not slide, and as soon as it reaches certain inclination, it starts sliding down. So my dear friend, the minimum angle of inclination on which the body starts sliding down without any external force is known as angle of repose. Angle of repose is the minimum angle of inclination on which the body starts sliding down without any external force. So my dear friend, I have taken a angle of repose as angle alpha, and we know that at angle of repose the body is on the verge of motion. So the frictional force is the maximum frictional force in the static region. Is that okay, my dear friend? Now when a body is kept on an inclined surface, the weight of the body is acting vertically downward. So we can resolve the weight into two components, one parallel to the inclined surface and one perpendicular to the inclined surface. So one parallel to the inclined surface is impending downward, and because of the downward impending force, there is a frictional force in the opposite direction. So the direction of motion is downward, so the frictional force is upward. This W cos alpha is perpendicular to the surface, and as the body is kept on the surface, there is a perpendicular reaction upward. Is that okay, my dear friend? So there are in all total 4 forces, 2 components of weight, W sin alpha and W cos alpha, and normal reaction to the surface, and frictional force which is tangential to the surface in contact. Frictional force always acts in the direction opposite to the motion and tangential to the surfaces in contact. Now applying the conditions of equilibrium and considering the directions, if I take the horizontal direction, in the horizontal direction there are 2 forces, W sin alpha and F. So W sin alpha is equals to F. Is that okay? Now I take vertical component of forces. It is the normal reaction N and W cos alpha. So can I write that W cos alpha is equals to N? We know that frictional force is equals to mu into N. So I have written W sin alpha is equals to F, which is mu into N. I have written W cos alpha is equals to normal reaction. I have taken that as N. So dividing W sin alpha divided by W cos alpha, so on the right hand side it will be mu N by N. So W gets cancelled, and sin alpha upon cos alpha is tan of alpha. Here also N and N gets cancelled, and what remains is mu. So we have got a relationship of mu is equals to tan of alpha. In the previous slide, my dear friend, we got a relation of mu is equals to tan of phi, and in this slide we have got a relationship mu is equals to tan of alpha. And mu is the same thing, that is the coefficient of friction. So coefficient of friction is equals to tan of phi, which is equals to tan of alpha. That means tan of phi is equals to tan of alpha. That means phi is equals to alpha. So with this I can say that angle of repose is equals to angle of friction. So my dear friend, we know that angle of friction is the angle made by the resultant of frictional force and normal reaction with the normal reaction. So we can see in this diagram that angle of repose is vertically opposite angle to the angle of friction. So here we conclude that angle of repose is equals to angle of friction. Is that okay, my dear friend? Now let us understand the laws of friction. So whatever we have discussed so far are the laws of friction. So the very first thing is that when the two surfaces are given, the limiting frictional force depends on the normal reaction. We know that F is equals to mu into N, that is the frictional force is directly proportional to the normal reaction. So the limiting frictional force depends on the normal reaction and it is directly proportional to the normal reaction. Number 2, the friction is dependent on the degree of surface and kind of material of two surfaces in contact. So we know that for the road and tire there is a maximum frictional force. That means the friction is dependent on the degree of surface and kind of material of two surfaces. For materials in contact there will be a significant amount of friction. So it is a pair which makes the friction significant. Frictional force is independent of area of contact between two surfaces and the speed of the body. So friction is not dependent on how much area is in contact and what is the speed of the body. So friction is only the function of the materials in contact. Is that okay? And it is directly proportional to the normal reaction. And the last and most important is that coefficient of static friction is always greater than the coefficient of kinetic friction. So we know that coefficient of static friction is always greater than coefficient of kinetic friction. That is why the maximum frictional force, that is limiting frictional force, is greater than the kinetic friction. Is that okay, my dear friend? Now the last is cone of friction. My dear friend, we have taken a block of weight W which is under the influence of force P. So the force P tries to slide the block in the right direction. Am I correct? So the block is going to experience a normal reaction vertically upward and a frictional force in the direction opposite to the applied force. Am I correct? So the resultant of frictional force and normal reaction will make an angle phi with the normal reaction, and that angle is known as angle of friction. Taking this phi as semi-vertex angle, and if I rotate this resultant force with respect to this normal reaction, it will form a cone, and this cone is known as cone of friction. The advantage of cone of friction is that if the resultant reaction is on the surface of this cone, if the resultant reaction is on the surface of this cone, the body is on the verge of motion. If the resultant reaction lies in between, the body is at the state of rest. If the resultant reaction is outside, the body is in motion. So with the help of cone of friction, we determine whether the body is in the stationary position or it is moving or it is on the verge of motion. Is that okay, my dear friend? We are going to do two numericals. First one is, there are two blocks A and B of weight 1 kilonewton and 2 kilonewton respectively, and they are in equilibrium position. If the coefficient of friction between the two blocks as well as the block B and the floor is 0.3, find the force P required to move the block. So my dear friends, in this question, it is given that there are two blocks, A of weight 1 kilonewton, B of weight 2 kilonewton. They are in equilibrium position, and we are supposed to determine the force P to move the block B if the coefficient of friction is 0.3 for all the bodies and all the contact surfaces. So let's do the analysis of this question. So my dear friend, let's draw the free body diagram of block A and block B. So my dear friend, the block A is connected with the thread and it is resting on block B. The weight of block A is 1 kilonewton and the tension of the wire is taken as T. The tension is at an angle of 30 degree. The block B is resting on the floor and its weight is 2 kilonewton and it is under the application of force P. Now the block A is resting on block B, so there will be a reaction of block B on block A. So taking that reaction as R1, so block B is giving a reaction R1 at block A. Similarly, block A is also going to give the same equal and opposite reaction R1 on block B. Also the block B is resting on the surface, taking that reaction as R2. So on block B there are two reactions, one R2 which is given by the floor and R1 given by block A. So block A and block B, they both are giving equal and opposite reaction to each other. Now the force P tries to move the block in the left direction. So there will be friction force at all the contact surfaces because all the contact surfaces are rough, having coefficient of friction 0.3. So there will be friction force on both top and bottom surface of block B. So since we have taken reaction of block A as R1, so the frictional force will be F1 is equals to mu into R1, and since we have taken reaction with ground as R2, so I have taken friction as F2 at the contact surface of the floor. Similarly, as the block B was experiencing a pull force of P, so the reaction was opposite to the applied force. Now the body A is in contact with body B, and we know that for every action there will be equal and opposite reaction. So if we have taken force frictional force F1 equals to mu R1 in the right direction, so this friction force on the block A will act in the opposite direction, that is left direction. Is that okay? So the reactions on the contact surfaces will be equal and opposite. Is that okay, my dear friend? So we have drawn the free body diagram of both blocks A and B, and the free body diagram of both the bodies are dependent on each other. So we have drawn both together. Now we are going to do the static analysis of block A first, and then the block B. So my dear friend, since the tension force TA was at an angle of 30 degrees, so it was the only inclined force. So let's resolve that. So the horizontal component become T cos 30 and the vertical component become T sin 30. Now doing the static analysis on block A, applying conditions of equilibrium, summation Fy equals to 0. So there are three forces. Summation Fy equals to 0 gives us T sin 30 is equals to 1 minus R1. So that were the three forces. So I substituted that considering the direction, and I got this equation T sin 30 is equals to 1 minus R1. Taking summation Fx equals to 0, summation Fx equals to 0 gives T cos 30 is equals to F1. T cos 30 is equals to F1, and F1 is mu R1 and mu is 0.3. So we got two relations, T sin 30 and T cos 30. So dividing T sin 30 by T cos 30, I get a ratio of 1 minus R1 upon 0.3 R1. T gets cancelled with T, and we get tan 30 is equals to 1 minus R1 upon 0.3 R1. So there is only one unknown, and we get a reaction R1 equals to 0.85. If I multiply reaction R1 0.85 with 0.3, I will get the frictional force F1 is equals to mu R1. Is that okay? Now we have completed the static analysis on block A. Now we are going to do the static analysis on block B. So applying conditions of equilibrium on block B, summation Fy equals to 0. So in all total there are three forces, R1, R2 and 2. So summation Fy equals to 0 gives R2 is equals to 2 plus R1, and we got the value of R1 as 0.85. So we got the value of R2 as 2.85 kilonewton. Now if I multiply 2.85 with mu, I will get F2. So similarly we are going to get F1 and F2 by multiplying R1 and R2 with mu. So F1 is equals to mu R1 gives 0.25 kilonewton, F2 is equals to mu R2 gives 0.85 kilonewton. Now applying condition of equilibrium on block B, summation Fx equals to 0, and that gives P is equals to F1 plus F2, and we sum that F1 and F2 and we get the force P required to move the block B. So 1.11 kilonewton of force is required to move the block B. So with this we complete the first numerical of this video lecture. Let's see the next numerical. Two identical blocks of weight W are supported by a rod inclined at 45 degree with the horizontal, as shown in the figure. If both the blocks are in limiting equilibrium, find the coefficient of friction mu. It is written mu, not m. Find the coefficient of friction mu. Find the coefficient of friction mu, assuming it to be the same at floor as well as wall. So it is given that friction at wall and friction at floor is mu. It is given that weights of the blocks A and B are both W. They are connected with a rod at an angle of 45 degree, and they are on the limiting friction, that they are in the limiting equilibrium. That means they have maximum frictional force, that is F max, which is equals to mu s into n, and we are supposed to determine that mu. So my dear friend, let's do the analysis. So we know, let's do the analysis. We are going to draw the free body diagram of this block A and B together. So the free body diagram of block A and B gives us that the weight of block A acts vertically downward, weight of block B acts vertically downward. Block B is resting on the wall, so the wall is going to give a perpendicular reaction Rw, that will be horizontal. Since block B will slide down because of its weight, so there will be a frictional force in the upward direction. Block B slides down, so there is a upward frictional force. Is that okay? So when the block B slides down, block A will move in the left direction. So the movement of the block A will be in the left direction. So the frictional force will be acting in the direction opposite to the motion. So the frictional force at the floor, which is represented by F subscript F, so FF is in the right direction. Is that okay? Now we have done the free body diagram of the both block A and B together. Now let us consider the length of the rod as L and coefficient of friction between the floor and wall as mu. So considering mu as coefficient of friction and length of the rod as L, and applying conditions of equilibrium on the whole system. So applying condition of equilibrium, summation Fy equals to 0. So there are three vertical forces, Fw, reaction at the floor, and the weights of the block. So Fw plus Rf is equals to 2W. So we can write Fw is equals to mu into Rw. So we have written Fw is equals to mu into Rw, and this is the first relationship. Now applying condition of equilibrium, summation Fx equals to 0. So there are two forces, Rw and friction force at the floor. So Rw is equals to Ff is given, and Ff can be written as mu into Rf. Now substituting Rw is equals to mu Rf, so we get Rf का equation as 2W upon mu square plus 1. I have substituted Rw is equals to mu into Rf, so it becomes mu square Rf plus Rf is equals to 2W. Therefore 2W upon mu square plus 1. So we got Rf is equals to 2W upon mu square plus 1, and substituting this value of Rf in equation 2, we are going to get Rw as mu into 2W upon mu square plus 1. Since we know that Rw is equals to mu into Rf, I got the value of Rf is equals to 2W upon mu square plus 1. If I multiply Rf with mu, I get Rw. So Rw is equals to mu into 2W upon mu square plus 1. Now taking the moment of the system about the block A. If I take the moment of all the forces about block A, these three forces which are acting on block A is not going to create any moment, whereas these three forces are going to create the moment. Rw is going to create an anti-clockwise moment, W is going to create a clockwise moment, and frictional force Fw is going to create an anti-clockwise moment. So taking moment about the block A, we got a relationship Rw into L cos 45 plus Fw into L cos 45. Taking the clockwise on the other side, it becomes positive again. Now L cos 45 is common in all, and we get a relationship of Rw, Fw and W. So we get Rw plus Fw is equals to W. We know that reaction at the wall when multiplied by mu, that will be the friction at wall. So friction at wall is represented by Fw. So substituting Fw is equals to mu Rw, we got Rw plus mu Rw is equals to W. So taking Rw as common, so we got Rw into 1 plus mu is equals to W. Now we have two relationships, Rw, mu and W. So now we have two relationships of Rw, mu and W, and considering those together. So we have first relationship Rw is equals to mu into 2W upon mu square plus 1. We have another relationship of Rw, which is dW upon 1 plus mu. We got this with the previous equation. Rw into 1 plus mu is equal to W. So we have taken 1 plus mu on the right hand side, so it comes on the denominator. So considering this both equation together, equating Rw with Rw, and we get a equation 2 mu into 1 plus mu is equal to mu square plus 1. Taking all the mu terms on the same side, we get a quadratic equation, and when we solve this quadratic equation, that is going to give us the value of coefficient of friction. So we got the value of coefficient of friction as 0.414, and with this we complete this video lecture. So my dear friends, in this video lecture we have studied principles of friction, and we have understand that friction force always acts in the direction opposite to the motion. It is always tangential to the surfaces in contact, and the value of friction is dependent on the normal reaction. Friction force is equal to mu times normal reaction. I hope that this video is definitely helping you. I wish you all the best for your exams. I thank all the students for sparing time to see this video lecture. I wish you all the best. Thank you.